What's up, y'all? We the Miller family again, Deontay and Erica, and of course we don't have the kids this time, but we wanted to hop on here and do a quick video because we kind of wanted to talk to you about what it's like, what life has been like in our virtual learning world as of late with all of this COVID stuff. So I know last time we did like an experiment and we had a lot of fun with the kids or whatnot, but today was one of the most interesting I would say days in terms of our first little hiccup in virtual learning, where we actually had to be,
we had to take the fun out of the day. It was no teabag experiment, none of that. We had to be parents.
No, I actually was the principal in this case. I was the principal.
You think so?
Yeah, I think, we both, you was like the assistant principal and then I was like the main principal.
Is the assistant principal the main one? Because I feel like I was a little tough.
Yeah, because I had to clean up. Usually the roles is reversed or switched, but
today it was good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, but
so, you know, this virtual learning thing, the way it's set up for us is, you know, it's a 3-bedroom house. There's no study, there's none of that. So I'm in one room, Bryce is in the other room, Deontay's office is in the kitchen, or if he chooses, Kendall's room. So the way we have it set up, we got his little, you know, desk, counter, whatever, hookup going, and he has his laptop from school, and he's supposed to be there for synchronous lessons where they teach live. So typically I go in there and check on them, you know, see how he doing. And I did, just like I do any other day, but apparently I've been slipping. And the teacher actually called me today. It's fair to say, Bryce is a pretty cool, calm, good kid. She called and she was like, you know, a few red flags. I heard noises and every time I would ask him something, he was looking up, he was like, yeah, 5. You know, he was just saying anything when he answered her. So, you know, pretty much he wasn't engaged, and I understand. And, you know, gotta give a little grace. It's hard to stay focused in this virtual setting. But our kid was watching Hulu. Steven Universe and Beyblades and Pokemon. At least that was her suspicion. When I asked him, he said he was watching Hulu during the reading lessons because it was too quiet in there. And so we had to put him on punishment.
Well, and the funny thing about it is I'm working, like she said, so I don't even know none of this is going on. And so I just happen to look at my cell phone in between meetings and she sends me this text message like, your boy tripping. And so I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying?
What's going on?
But she made sure she preferenced the text message where I've already said what I have to say so you don't have to reiterate it. Now, you gonna tell me, his father, that he's supposed to be virtually learning and he's watching Hulu in class. Like, man, I'm like, come on, bro. You know what time
Well, I didn't want bad cop. And a lot of times he felt like he bad cop and I'm good cop. So I had already went hard on him and was like, this can't happen, man. Like, what is you doing? What's going on? And he's very tender-hearted. So just by me talking to him, we're not against, like, you know, spankings, but he's the kid that he don't really require all of that. You talk to him, he's just instantly like tears. So he'd already, you know, realized that, I messed up, and, you know, he felt bad. And more so, I knew he would reiterate it, but I just wanted him to know that he ain't have to go hard because I had already kind of.
But here's the thing, I ain't go hard. See,
You
I had got all of my little peaceful, my day was good. So I already knew, like, listen, I'm gonna have to have a conversation with him because even with mom talking to him, as his father, I needed to have that conversation with him, man to man. And she can attest to this. I've been talking to Bryce like he's been a man since he came out the womb. So we don't sugarcoat too much.
Would you call my baby at 2 weeks?
Dog, like, come on, dog. Like, bro, you ain't gotta do all that crying, bro.
That child was 2 weeks and he was like, hey, dog. And I was like, who's he talking to?
Anyway, so Erica had already had a conversation with him, but we hadn't really talked about what the punishment was gonna be. And you know, like, come on now, for y'all that's watching, that's 80s babies like us, you know, our punishment was like jail. Like, it ain't, you, first of all, you getting a whooping. On top of getting a whooping, they taking everything from you and they making you go to a quiet room without no TV on and you just looking at the wall. All you can do,
no iPads.
all you can do is go to sleep. So I wanted to make sure that I was fair about the situation because let's just be honest. Bryce, I'm not saying my son is perfect, but I can honestly say, and this is no lie, 98% of the time, we have no problems out of Bryce.
Right. So I was surprised.
So for his teacher to reach out to us and to, say, and which we appreciated because I thought that was totally unacceptable. That ain't gonna fly in my house. But for her to reach out and think that it was serious enough or significant enough for her to contact us, especially when she knows the type of kid that Bryce is as well, then I had to have that conversation with him. And I'm going somewhere with this, and we're kind of both going to go somewhere after we get through all of the shenanigans. But even with talking to him, I had to reiterate to him, and I asked questions. Like, I didn't just fly off the handle and say, you going to do this, you going to do this. I asked questions, man, because I want to know what my son is thinking. Like, what brought you to the place to watch Hulu in the middle of class? And obviously he didn't lie, which I was very proud of. Even when his mom asked him, he didn't lie. But like she said, he's very tenderhearted. So as soon as I start talking to him, those eyes start welling up with tears because he thinks dad is talking to him. He knows he's done something wrong. He's in trouble. Well, yeah, you're in trouble, but I'm going to explain to you why you're in trouble. I'm going to explain to you my expectation along with your mom's in terms of what we expect from you as number one, our son, and then a student as well. Because you're a representation of us. First of all, I don't want to think your teacher think that we around here and we just
kicking it.
Yeah, and we just don't have any insight to what you're doing.
Right.
But more importantly, I just wanted him to understand, when you make certain choices or certain decisions, there's always a consequence that comes with that, whether good or bad. You got to be accountable to whatever decision that you made. And so he understood it. I ended up pretty much taking his iPad, taking his Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, none of that. And
YouTube, because YouTube is, I found to be a luxury to kids. They love it. So we were like, none of that either, not on the Fire Stick either.
Yeah. And so, and I even hit him with hey, don't ask me when you can play it, because in my eyes, I don't have a time frame right now because you have to earn this back, right? Mm-hmm. You have to earn this back. And I don't want my kids to feel like they don't have to work for anything or that everything is just going to come easy or be given to them, because you're going to have some challenges. You're going to have some adversity. There's some things that's going to happen. There's some things that you're not going to do well. There's some mistakes that you're going to make and that you're going to learn from. So we wanted to use this as a learning experience for Bryce, so that going forward, he'll think about these things or the decisions that he made, and he'll think about it even in other decisions that he have to make and understand, absolutely, where he's playing it out in his mind, like, okay, if I do this, this could ultimately end up here. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say what he didn't know is, like I said, he is like a good kid. It's kind of like he calls him Dudley Do-Right. He's usually the kid that's like, you have to follow the rules. He's that kid. So with pandemic keeping us stuck inside and, numbers improving just a little bit, he decided, hey, we're going to take him to Dave & Buster's. This was pre-Hulu during class. And so what I thought was cool was we decided to let the Dave & Buster's thing happen. That's your last hurrah. But to me, it kind of highlighted that one mistake is not just going to define how we treat you or define you altogether. And so there was, some discipline for sure, and that's gonna stick. But there's just a little bit of grace, because for the most part, you've done great. You know what I mean? It's just this right here can't happen, and you got to learn from this, and you got to feel it.
Yeah, you definitely got to feel it. But I think the thing that, and I think I posted this on social media maybe last week sometime, but in that moment, I did not want to break my child's spirit. I just didn't want to do it. Now, I wanted to maybe break his will or recondition some of the bad habits that he's developed. But in terms of his spirit, I didn't want to break his spirit. And so it was important that, number one, even in having to discipline him, I wanted to make sure that I still reaffirmed him, who he was, reaffirmed that he was a good child, that he was an awesome child, that I'm proud of him. But then there's some things that we have to do differently.
Decisions.
And that doesn't mean that we're not parents that don't believe in you know, if it comes to that where we have to spank our kids or anything like that. But I just don't think that every,
it's not always warranted. It's not the only way.
Every method that my parents used on me growing up may not necessarily be effective with my kids. Like, you know, so it's important that, you know what I mean, you have to be strategic and intentional about the way that you raise your kids. How do you talk to them? How do you communicate with them? How do you know, handle their little feelings and everything? Even when something goes wrong, like I could have easily flew off the handle and just been like, Bryce, you in trouble, you doing this, you doing that, and didn't explain anything to him. And then that leaves him wondering like, well, maybe this is, you know, it ain't just about, in his mind, just what I did today, but he'll start thinking like, this is kind of how my dad views me or looks at me.
Right.
And so, you know, it's important, man. It was important to me in that moment to really have that dialogue with my son. And I think on the other end of this, I think he's gonna learn. I think it'll, you know, and it'll benefit him. She said he better.
We're not playing them games.
Nah, we're not playing that game.
This is not okay.
He's not playing it. And then this is the funny part though. I got my co-signer, Kendall, who wants to come in the room low key and she all of a sudden want to bring everything to Bryce. Really, she's just trying to eavesdrop and be nosy because usually she's like my echo.
I didn't know that was happening.
Yeah, so I kept sending her out the room like, Kendall, go back in the room with your mama. And she's like, well, I'm just trying to bring Brycey his toys. No, you trying to eavesdrop.
Nosy.
Yeah, she is, but
nosy.
the bottom line is, you know what I mean? Like, make sure, man, that even when you have to discipline your child, man, that you're mindful of the fact that you don't want to break their spirit when you're disciplining them.
Right.
I truly believe in, you know what I mean, don't spare the rod because you will spoil the child. You know, if it's warranted, then you got to do what you got to do. As much as it may hurt your heart, you still have to discipline your child because guess what? If you don't do it, somebody outside your household will. And so I want me and his mother and Kendall as well, I want us to have the most influence in their life when they step outside of my house, period.
And my takeaway was, because when the teacher said that, I didn't say, oh, he would never do that, but it was just out of character for him because we went through the end of the last semester, you know, before summer break without a hitch. So for her to say, I heard some noise in the background and I think he was watching something, I was like, that doesn't sound like him. But don't ever underestimate your kids and don't say what your kids won't do. And even for the good kid, you know, the one who doesn't give you much trouble, allow them to make mistakes too. You know what I mean? Because that kind of keeps the lines of communication open. Like you heard us say, he didn't lie to us at all. When I said, what were you doing? He said, oh, I was watching a little Hulu. I just needed some noise in the background. He literally told me, but I was glad that he felt okay to admit, you know, his mistake. So that was my biggest takeaway because I was a bit shocked, but at the same time, you know, I know that the teacher has good intentions and, you know, I want to be a support in his learning and all of that. So yeah, don't pay attention to these kids during this virtual education stuff. It's a little tricky.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, in closing, man, there's a lot that I think we learned on the fly today. There's some things that we've kind of both agreed in terms of how we are going to raise our kids, but
yeah, he got to go to school with the principal at the kitchen table now.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's in the principal. You know how they have like in-house suspension? Well, I guess that's what we call it. That's what we calling that. All the rest of this week, he in-house suspension with me. So when I'm working, he's right across from the table working with me.
Because he has to earn our trust to show us that he can work independently in his nice little cozy bedroom with his wonderful TV without being distracted. But at this time, at the age of 9, right at this moment, he don't seem like he's quite ready.
Yeah. So. And I mean, we give him the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. It's abnormal, kind of the times that we're in, and then the fact that, you know,
it can get boring. I get bored on those Zoom meetings at work.
Yeah, definitely. So, man, just pay attention, man, to not only your kids, but just pay attention to just their temperament and things of that nature, because you never really know what's going on in their mind or in their head. And if you don't take the time to really sit down and talk to them or ask questions, you know what I mean? And not necessarily just rule with an iron fist all the time, but really ask, you know, the why or the what. so that you can really understand, because you'll find out a lot about, you know, something that you probably didn't even know was going on in that little head. So, and all in all, like I said, Bryce is a great kid. Kendall is our little firecracker. I can't wait for her to go to school. That's gonna be, you know, crazy in itself. But as always, man, the Miller fan, we love you guys. We appreciate the support.
Yes.
And we'll continue to kind of drop videos on our YouTube channel all the time, man, just to keep you guys up to date with what we got going on in our life. And our life it stays busy. I wish we had a real life camera to where you could see our day-to-day, because I guarantee you it is hilarious. As always, we love you. Thank you for the support.
Thanks for watching.
And more to come in the near future.
Bye.